All right, guys. So, interesting story dropped last night about Kamala Harris, okay, and what may be going on internally. Now, guys, I've told you that, I personally think that Kamala is very annoyed and stressed out with what's going on with the Biden administration in regards to the assignments that she is getting. Okay, she's being assigned things that she just absolutely cannot win on. Okay, she can't win on the border, right? And she can't win on the For the People Act and the voting rights stuff, right? And Joe Biden tossed those two assignments to her. Okay, while Joe Biden himself is taking on easier, more manageable assignments like the infrastructure bill and crime. Okay, that's what Biden is taking on, right? And I personally think that it is very, very clear that Kamala is annoyed by this and that there are some internal tensions coming out, right? I've actually did a story in which I told you guys about how some former staffers and people that work for Kamala feel the same way. They feel like she's been thrown under the bus by Biden. She's been assigned things that Biden knows that he can't win on. Again, this stuff is pretty obvious. And now there are reports coming out that people that are on Kamala's current staff are experiencing low morale and some internal tensions. And all this stuff is coming from the fact that she's on assignments that she just personally can't win on, which is coming from Joe Biden, right? So let's read a little bit more here. As Vice President Kamala Harris contends with intense scrutiny over the handling of the border crisis and other key issues, members of her staff are experiencing low morale and struggling to communicate with top staffers, according to multiple reports on Wednesday. Communication issues and distrust between aides and senior officials on Harris' team, including her chief of staff, Tina Flournoy, have contributed to a tense and at times dour office atmosphere, Politico reported, citing interviews with 22 current and former aides. Much of the criticism was directed at Flournoy, whom aides claim has limited access to Harris and contributed to a culture, quote, where ideas are ignored or met with harsh dismissals and decisions are dragged out. The decisions were apparently exemplified during Harris's recent trip to the border. Some of Harris' aides and other Biden administration officials, including those responsible for booking her travel arrangements, were left scrambling by her decision earlier this month to travel to El Paso. Okay, so this is an important point because it supports the theory that Kamala had no intentions of going to the border. Right? All of a sudden, Trump comes out and says, hey, I'm going to the border. Now, all of a sudden, Kamala is like, okay, I'm going to get down to the border before Trump goes to the border. And the fact that her staffers, and aides were surprised by the move tells you that it was never on her radar. Despite the fact that she was saying that, oh, I'm going to the border, I'm going to the border, I'm going to the border. She never had any intentions of doing it. Right? She did not want to do it. Otherwise, they would not have been caught off guard by it, right? Matter of fact, I think there were reports that some people in her staff that were responsible for her travel arrangements actually quit, right? They resigned around the time of Kamala going to the border, okay? So there are some issues here, okay? And Kamala is definitely feeling the pressure when it comes to her job as vice president and the assignments that she's been given by Joe Biden. And that is kind of trickling down to her staff as well. Politico reported that two current administration officials said Harris bore some responsibility for the issues on her team. Quote, people are thrown under the bus from the very top. There are short fuses and it's an abusive environment. One person with knowledge of operations at Harris' office told the outlet, quote, it's not a healthy environment and people often feel mistreated. It's not a place where people feel supported, but a place where people feel treated like ish. Okay, so they're saying that people are being thrown under the bus from the very top. I mean, that basically means Kamala, right? That probably means that Kamala is throwing people under the bus because she's been thrown under the bus, right? She's been thrown under the bus. So I'm not surprised to hear that, hey, she may be treating her staff and others like that, which means that they're treating people under them like that, which means that the whole office is going to be in chaos. Okay, and in my opinion and my hypothesis is that, yeah, this comes from the fact that Biden has given her assignments that she cannot win on, right? And Kamala, I mean, again, it's obvious she can't handle stress like that. She just can't, okay? So I can imagine that working for her is probably not a very pleasant experience right now. It's probably pretty stressful. Simone Sanders, Harris' top spokesperson, pushed back on allegations of discord on the vice president's staff. Quote, "We're not making rainbows and bunnies all day. What I hear is that people have hard jobs, and I'm like, welcome to the club," Sanders told Politico. "We have created a culture where people, if there's anything anyone would like to raise, there are avenues for them to do so. Whoever has something they would like to raise, they should raise it directly." The vice president's office did not respond to a request for further comment. Apparent concerns over Flournoy's leadership were echoed in a report from CNBC. The outlet reported Harris's chief of staff had effectively shut out some of the vice president's allies in politics and business, including top donors. Oof. Okay, so the chief of staff essentially is turning a blind eye to those with the money. Okay, and that's probably a big deal, right? You don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. But I mean, hey, Kamala has been elected vice president. So I don't know. I mean, that could be a lot of different things going on here. The situation has left some allies unable to reach Harris for calls both personal and political in nature, according to people familiar with the matter. Harris has faced intense scrutiny from GOP lawmakers regarding her role as the Biden administration's point person on efforts to address an ongoing immigration crisis. Republicans had slammed the vice president for resisting calls to personally assess the situation at the border. Okay, so in summary, guys, the Kamala Harris vice presidency is falling apart. It just is, right? It's become very, very, very clear that she is not qualified for this job. But I will say that it's not surprising to hear this. And I would imagine that, if you're working on the staff of the vice president or the president of the United States, yeah, things are going to be stressful, right? But I think that in this situation with Kamala, it's more apparent that a lot of this probably comes from her and a lot of this is her fault, right, to a certain extent. But, when you're in the corporate world, stuff like this happens, right? I mean, people get stressed out on jobs. You got projects, you got assignments, you got your boss breathing down your neck. I get it. This is not just unique to Kamala. I'm just saying that I think that Kamala being as ineffective as she is in her role, I believe that that's probably making it worse than what it actually should be. Okay, that's what I believe. And moving forward here, with Joe Biden falling apart on a day-to-day basis now, Kamala has to be up next to, be the Democrat nominee. And if Kamala is the Democrat nominee, considering how she's been doing as vice president so far, and the fact that Democrats didn't even like her in the primaries, the Democrat Party might be screwed come 2024. Right? They might just be screwed. They honestly might just be better off, low key, just running a whole nother candidate. Right? Just letting Biden go and saying, Kamala, listen, we're going to run somebody against you, because I don't think Kamala could beat any GOP candidate at this point. Right? Any decent GOP candidate. I think she would have a difficult time beating them in a general election. I really do. I think she's just that unlikable, and I think that she's just done that bad of a job as a vice president so far, at the very least from a PR standpoint. So, who knows? Like I said, there'll probably definitely be more stories like this that come out, especially if Biden continues to give her the difficult assignments, right? The assignments that she can't win on. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.